This film was a claustrophobic nightmare, and I think I mean that in the best way, but we will see.
Because I'm Muslim? Is this because I'm black?
Is this because I'm white?
Airports turn people into such dickheads.
Hi, if you don't know me, my name is Catherine. I'm so happy to have you here or to have you back from wherever it is on the internet that you happen to drop in from. This is my review and dissection of Carry On. As per usual, I would so love to know your thoughts and your opinions if you have watched the film, but even if you haven't, I am going to recap the plot as per usual. But without further ado, regardless of whether or not you agree with my opinion, I genuinely hope that you enjoy. So, without further ado, let's begin.
Just relax, okay?
Carry On is not a film that ingratiates our, honestly, very necessary dependency on comedy and satire in this culture. There are no sensational reprieves to blunt the tension. There was barely anything, honestly, to be deliberately engineered to be clipped for some meme, for some short, or for any form of virality. And to be honest, I did not realize how much I would genuinely appreciate not being pandered to, given obviously that I am Gen Z and we are chronically impatient for the next stimulus. Instead, it really just pulls you into the moral quicksand of our protagonist, Ethan Kopek, and he is a TSA officer forced into an impossible situation, and I truly do mean an impossible situation. The film begins on Christmas Day, but for Ethan Kopek, it is really just another mind-numbing day at his job as a TSA agent at the Minneapolis St. Paul International Airport. Ethan is introduced, like many of us this time of year, as quite frankly exhausted with life, with the anticipated strain of our anxieties, and just with trying to make life work for ourselves and for our families. On top of that though, there is a cruel, cynical influence over him that suffocates both his internal peace and his relationship with Nora, who is his pregnant girlfriend, which I genuinely, personally, watching the film, I thought was a great dynamic to exhibit from the perspective of the producers. You can't wrestle, with your contritions in complete disengagement from your relationship without tiring that relationship, without tiring your partner. But Nora, shame, she doesn't resent him for it. She's a champ. And she genuinely appreciates, the context foregrounding that contrition, that guilt. So, okay, what exactly is he guilty about? Well, Ethan was involved in a failed rescue attempt during a prior security incident that cost lots of innocent lives. And so for anybody, really, this kind of incident, this kind of guilt, it would really eat at you. And we see this especially so in the beginnings of the film, really gnawing at Ethan.
Ethan, today is a day that you're going to remember for a very long time, but if you handle it right, you're going to have a chance to forget it.
Progressing in the story, Ethan's routine shifts violently when he's approached by this enigmatic man named Ellis, played by Jason Bateman. And Ellis, you guys, is calm, he is calculating, and he is unnervingly direct. So he hands Ethan this small package, a device encased in nondescript wrapping, and he essentially delivers this truly chilling ultimatum. Get this package onto flight 257. If you don't, the plane explodes. If you alert anyone, your girlfriend dies. What Ellis is doing is he is shamelessly demonstrating his control. So he actually shows Nora under live surveillance, and the scene is shot with unbearable tension.
Ethan, are you listening?
As you can feel Ethan's panic just mounting, whilst Ellis remains disturbingly icy and cold. So Ethan, obviously, because he's the main character and because he's the hero, he initially resists and he attempts to signal his colleagues. But Ellis, because he's the villain, he anticipates every move, and he reveals the layers of surveillance and manipulation already hardened or already in place. And Ethan realizes that he is trapped in a meticulously crafted operation with no easy way out. The only way is to, quote, and as the movie is aptly titled, carry on, do nothing, and carry out what he has been told.
All you have to do is nothing.
So, as the film progresses, Ethan slowly begins to unravel the conspiracy. Essentially, Ellis is not the true mastermind of this entire thing. He's actually a pawn. Indeed, Ellis too has been compromised. But by my estimation, it is so much more than that. See, Ellis has been compromised by these nebulous forces and by the same infection of cynicism that suffocates Ethan. Which is why I think there is such a disturbing familiarity in their antagonistic dynamic. almost like Ellis is a too far gone version of Ethan. Again, honestly, I thought this was brilliant. Just a warning, this next section of the video contains lots of spoilers. So the package's true nature is revealed when Ethan discovers that it is not a bomb, but a device containing a deadly nerve agent designed to mimic an explosive threat. You can really sense watching the film, or at least, you know, I could sense. I picked it up. Maybe I'm picking up on nothing. Who knows? I don't know. But what I appreciated and what I could sense is that there is a really deliberate refusal to lean on ideological crutches for any politically charged anxiety. Ethan's girlfriend, Nora, for all of her agency, is neither reduced to a damsel in distress, nor inflated as this invincible, you know, feminine force. She is a pregnant woman doing her best to hold her own in a high-pressure situation. And for all of Ethan's insufferability out of context, you get the feeling that she really knows him well enough not to demonize him and to rather give him the benefit of the doubt, because she appreciates the context, even if she doesn't understand it, even if she doesn't know the full breadth of it. She still appreciates that the person she loves wouldn't be acting in these ways because he's inherently a horrible person.
You were part of the academy because it was your dream. It was what you always wanted.
What if I don't know what I want anymore? That is just sad.
Well, then we'll figure it out. Together.
Sometimes I just feel like, obviously I'm relating this to my immediate life and to what I commonly see, but sometimes when a man is struggling, we are so quick to call them narcissists before we appreciate the context. And on the flip side of the coin, with women, we're so quick to call them crazy, which obviously just inflames that insanity before we appreciate the context of their behavior. Sometimes people act, I think, in strange and unhinged ways, but when you really do care about someone, I think you do feel a necessary burden to understand and empathize with the context of their behavior. Even if they haven't revealed it to you, you still want to know what it is. And I get that feeling from Nora. I get the feeling she doesn't resent him. Yeah, all I'm saying is that there was no unnecessary caricaturing happening here. So I appreciated that. I think I just appreciated seeing how well a man's character arc was handled in all of its complexity, whilst allowing him to still save the day without diminishing the female counterpart. Nora is a very strong female character. She's given quite a lot of agency, and it's handled in delicate balance with Ethan. Even though Ethan is the star of the show, you really get the sense that she empathizes with him, and I appreciated that. I really did. I like seeing that on screen. Not, by the way, that this has never been done in Hollywood at all, but we're seeing it happen less so. And like I said at the beginning, I did not realize how much I would appreciate being Gen Z and being a woman, not being unnecessarily pandered to in the stories that are being sold to me. So yeah, okay, that is the end of that section. The revelation that the American defense contractors are not the Russians are the true antagonists and villains of Carry On is a scathing indictment on institutional corruption and the commodification of fear. Because see, by portraying the defense contractors as the architects of a false flag terrorist attack, the film deftly interrogates the precarious boundary between national interest and exploitation. These entities operating under the guise of patriotism are shown to manipulate public fear and engineer crises to secure lucrative government contracts. And we see this happen literally every day, and it's not just in America. What I'm saying is this narrative, this twist rather, echoes historical instances, both real and fictional, where governments and corporations have manufactured threats to justify militarization, surveillance, and imperialism. There is a clear moral cost to these strategies, and I'm so glad that Americans are becoming more and more conscientized to it. The media landscape has become increasingly accustomed to villainizing these external forces, the Russians, Middle Eastern extremists, all these shadowy, these nebulous global cabals. And what Carry On does is it turns the camera inward. So I live in South Africa, and honestly, it's no secret that I would not trust my government to babysit a cactus, let alone, I don't know, infrastructure, keeping the lights on, the water running, just basic things. And look, every government has its skeletons, and I'm generalizing this to literally every government. No government is perfect. Every government probably has its moments of dodgy accounting. It's times where it's like, oh whoops, I don't know, where did the money go? I don't know. It's gone, but hey, we move on. It's not good, guys. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. I think as South Africans, we have just collectively reached the bargaining stage of grief, where it's like, yeah, okay, you know what? Steal the money, okay? But could you fix the damn road? Like, could you just do the bare minimum? That is all we are asking anyway. There is truly a piece that I came to, even though you can't tell right now, given my irritability, there is a piece that I came to once I stopped believing in the integrity of my government. But I still expect it from them. I still expect them to fulfill their promises. I just don't depend on it, if that even makes sense. It's like, I hold you accountable, right, for your promise of integrity, but I'm not depending on it because you have just proven yourself in the past to be so far gone that it's exhausting. But we're not talking about the South African government. We're talking about this movie. I'm sorry for the tangent, moving on. My favorite part of this film was the existential interrogation, and I've spoke at length about the male gaze. I've abused conversations about the female gaze, but I don't speak often about the aspirational gaze, and that to me is important. In this film, it is a potent reminder of our interconnectedness as people who need other people, but I think it also underscores the fragility of our self-worth when tethered too closely to external validation. I truly believe that success is rarely ever a solitary experience. It is more often refracted through the lens of others' victories and failures, and we truly do see this with Ethan and his father. When someone we admire, and I mean someone we truly, genuinely admire, puts in effort, they fail, they fall, and they cannot get up, it weakens our resolve and the security that we have in the effort that we put into our own lives. So there's this really important conversation between Ethan and Ellis when Ellis essentially goes, oh, you're the son of a security guard, you are observant, essentially just revealing how much Ellis knows about Ethan, because he is, you know, Ellis is of course the omnipresent villain, and Ethan reveals that he was kicked out before placement. And his father, Ethan's father that is, wanted to be a cop, and he applied so many times, in fact, that they just stopped responding to him. And eventually his father gave up. His father gave up on his own aspirations, on his own dreams. What you need to understand about this is that his father's giving up actually hurt his own son. Ellis says, and I'm paraphrasing, so Ellis says, okay, so Ethan, the world kicks your father down and you lie right down next to him. Why is that? Ethan can't give a straight answer. His father, Ethan's father, drives an Uber now, and all Ethan can say is that dreams have an expiration date. What I got from this, and it's not necessarily explicit from the movie, but again, you know, we impose our own interpretations on things, and this is what I got. Aspiration is much healthier a fixation than idolatry or envy. But when the person that you are quietly, like silently rooting for fails, you know, they fall and they struggle to get back up, that weakens your resolve as well, especially so when you care about them. The thing is, you don't have to care about them in an immediate sense. You don't even have to agree always with what they say. You don't necessarily have to like them. You don't necessarily have to love what they are doing. You're just in that state where you are quietly rooting for them, where you just want them. You see the effort that they're putting into things, and you just want them to make it. You just want them to get there. When they fall, you know, and you've seen them fall multiple times, and in this instance, they're just kind of lying there and they're not getting up. I think I'm feeling things because I have a particular person in mind, and you guys, when I tell you that this individual is a real piece of work, he is the only person who can get a real rise out of me, and the way everything this person says antagonizes my worldview. I disagree with most of what they say, but when you're rooting for someone, when you see how much they are trying and when you see how much effort they are putting into their craft and something happens, often it's quite traumatic. They fall and you expect them to get up. You expect them to, come on, you can do it. And then they just lie there and they don't get up. And I think for me, realizing how much that weakened my resolve, weakened the security I had in my own efforts to succeed at something, it's a lot. It's a lot. I was not supposed to get emotional. Moving on, there is a shadow side to this. Envy and schadenfreude. So these two are ubiquitous in the social media age. And they are not merely passive emotions, but active psychological responses that feed on the misfortunes of others. I think the anonymity and detachment of the social media world enables users to project their insecurities outward, essentially cloaking their dissatisfaction under the guise of vindictive critique and gossip. Here, the film exposes an uncomfortable truth. See, the internet does not just catalyze controversy. It commodifies it as a salve for internal discontent. By seeing others fail, not just under the aspirational gaze, but the vindictive gaze, the disillusioned masses can momentarily and, let's be honest, conveniently avoid wrestling with their own souls. This critique, right, of digital culture becomes even sharper with Ethan's exasperated observation of authenticity. I'm gonna read you a really good quote from the film that really just it stuck with me, and I think it would provide a lot of invaluable context. Ellis says this to Ethan: "Your generation is just so taken with the concept of authenticity that you won't even take a bite unless you know that it's the perfect #real thing. The thing you kids haven't come around to is that there is no real. Fulfillment is the lie that they use to sell paper towels." This bitter line encapsulates the generation-wide crisis of meaning, where the quest for the quote-unquote real is both a spiritual yearning and a consumerist trap. It indicts not only the young, but the world who sold them this ideal. Only, of course, obviously, to strip it completely of its substance. The most terrifying aspect of Carry On, and I think where I accessed most of its relatability, lies in its portrayal of cynicism as a corrosive force, one that gnaws away at the moral fabric of its characters and of its audience. Cynicism, I think, when left completely unchecked, devolves into nihilism, a resignation into the belief that life's inherent disappointments actually justify a consent to ruthlessness and moral compromise. And we see this in Ellis. We see this as the demon, quite literally, that tempts Ethan. The film's antagonist, obviously Ellis, truly and terrifyingly embodies this dissent. See, his actions are not merely those of a caricatured villain, but of someone who has truly embraced the creed of despair, that life is short and disappointing and best navigated by stealing whatever happiness one can, regardless, of the cost to others. And what the film, again, elucidates with chilling clarity is the end point of that worldview. Once one, I think, abandons the belief in inherent goodness, the only logical recourse is to become a predator. Opportunistic, right? Calculating and morally untethered. It is not merely a psychological burden. It is not merely why I think Ethan and Ellis are portrayed as so strangely familiar to each other, but it is a slippery slope down the kind of incurable ruthlessness that defines the antagonist's every choice. Ethan's journey throughout the entire film essentially just unfolds as a series of truly agonizing moral dilemmas imposed by the film's antagonist because all of this mess that Ethan is going through is a battleground for his own soul. Whether it is choosing to save his unborn child, fighting for his own life, fighting for the lives of strangers, Ethan throughout the film is perpetually confronted with the specter of cynicism. And I think this is where a lot of people, especially this time of year, and especially if you've had a really hard year, this is where people can really relate. And I think this is where I definitely related to the film. And Ethan's struggle, each decision forces him to confront and wrestle with a profound question. Is there anything redeemable in this world worth fighting for? And the brilliance in this film lies in its refusal to offer any easy answers to this question. In the absence of hope or certainty, Ethan must make the radical and counterintuitive decision to become the goodness, to become to become the figure of redemption that he no longer sees in the world, that to a large extent that he has never experienced in the world. He must become, in many ways, the goodness he does not know, and that is tough. To be the savior, to be the redemptive force, the beacon of integrity, not because it is easy or even necessarily effective, but because because it's the only alternative to total moral decay. What I appreciate so much is that the choice, Ethan's choice, is not presented as heroic in the traditional sense, but as an act of frustrated defiance against the universe, against the set of circumstances, against the context that has repeatedly failed him, failed his father, and failed millions of innocent people.
You're pathetic and you're asleep. I guess I woke up.
Ethan is made a hero for his frustration instead of being hardened to certain villainy. And ultimately, my final opinion at the end of the film, now that we're at the end of, this video, is that yes, Ethan saves the day. He disarms the bomb. Ellis obviously dies, and yes, I'm sorry, guys. This is where I'm spoiling everything, and I'm sorry. I did warn you, but yeah, obviously, like I said, he saves the day. See, what this film does is it compels its audience. Heck, it compelled me to redefine my understanding of patriotism, of heroism, and of accountability in the age of pervasive disillusionment. And I completely appreciate and understand that for some people, that is not the season of life that they're experiencing right now. But for other people, this year was tough. This year was sickening. Some people are just done with everything. I'm done. I'm tired. I think that is why I understood Ethan. I saw his frustration, I think, with the unfairness of life given to people who, not even people who are necessarily innocent, but people who don't deserve the degree of misfortune that has just been dealt them. It's hard. It is really tough. Anyway, as long as it was, it's no secret at this point, I really enjoyed this film. I thought it was a masterstroke in both storytelling and social critique. I genuinely did like it, and it left me with a question that I think, ending this off, wrapping this video up, I will leave you with right now. How many of our fears are genuinely real, and how many of them are just constructs of those who profit off of our paranoia? That is all for this review today. I hope that you enjoyed it, but most importantly, I would love to know what you think. Whether or not you watched the film, I just like knowing what other people like to say. So I hopefully will see you very soon. Please take care of yourself for the latter part of this holiday season, and hopefully I will see you very, very soon. You take care, and goodbye.